All right, guys, welcome back to Top Corner Podcast with Juan and Omar, Champions League edition. This time we have AC Milan versus Spurs. We just covered PSG versus Bayern Munich. Make sure you check that out if you haven't already. But AC Milan versus Spurs, another mid game. We did mention that both games were kind of mid. 1-0 victory. Omar, you went in depth with this one. Tell us a little bit about it.
So starting on the losing side of Tottenham Hotspur losing 1-0, dude, Harry Kane was an absolute stinker today. He he had a few like opportunities to take a shot or find a playmaking, and he would just lose the ball to the first guy challenging him. Well, it was most likely Kier, one of the defenders from Milan, who had a master class. But I'll get into that later. Kulisevsky was also having a terrible game. The only real attacker that had a solid game was Son, and he was pretty mid as well. And then to Spurs just doesn't look like their midfield actually controlled it pretty well. Emerson Royale had a pretty mid game. Oliver Skip had a surprisingly good game. The defense was pretty good after the first goal allowed, but it just wasn't a convincing like like Spurs. Like the team that beat Man City, that team wasn't here. Like the defense maybe showed up a little better, but like the attack was just non-existent.
Yeah, dude. So Tottenham was pretty bad. I want to talk a little bit about what Milan did. I put it on Twitter. Make sure you follow us at Top Corner Pod on Twitter if you haven't already. I tweeted when I saw the goal that Brahim Diaz, one of the weirdest goals you'll see this week, and it kind of matches up. It was as ugly as Milan's form in the last few games, just completely discombobulated and just finding that I mean butterfly. We call it palomita in Spanish when we going for a header like that right at the goal line,
Yeah,
and that ended up being the difference maker. It's crazy because when you look, like you said, like Tottenham definitely had chances. They were pretty even across the board. 47% possession for Milan, 53 for Spurs. And passes, they were 25 passes away, 9 shots to 12 shots, advantage to Spurs. So yeah, dude, pretty even overall. Just a very ugly goal. If anything, if it weren't for that, it would have been a 0-0 clearly.
yeah, but and then especially on that goal, Fraser Forster, the keeper for Tottenham, had a beautiful double save. The first one, I believe, was from Theo Hernandez, who had a nice little run on the left wing, who was up and down that wing all day. By the way, I could see his bleached hair from a mile away. He had a shot at goal. Foster parried it. Then Brahim Diaz was there to clean it up, but Forster gets a hand to it, tries to push it over the bar, but it kind of like has that top spin, so it just spins back down, and then that's where you see Diaz just launch his body into the ball to kind of push it in. Without that, I think the ball would have fell right onto the goal line, onto the line of the goal, and then maybe Forster will pick it up or whatever. But you saying about the shots for Tottenham, they had 6 shots outside the box, and they weren't like close. Most of them were off target. I think they had only one from Emerson Royale that went straight at the keeper, and a few more block shots. They had like 4 block shots, 6 shots outside the box. The clearest chance they had was an offside shot that Human Son had, but he was offside by like a yard. Just Tottenham was terrible. But on the other side, AC Milan, Rafael Lau, as you were bigging up him on the last episode, he had a great game, whipped him some beautiful crosses, had some good shots, couldn't find the back of the net, but had an overall great game.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I had some not so nice words to say about Stefano Pioli, Milan's coach, because he had Rafael Leao on the bench, and I'm like, why do you have this guy on the bench if he's the best player on the team? He ended up being the highest rated player, and he was the player of the match as well. So, dude, he had won the most duels in the match with 13. He ended up being the difference maker. I had this game. I couldn't pay as much attention to it just because I was all in on the PSG versus Bayern one. But I had it playing in the background. Every other time I looked at my laptop screen, it would be Rafael Leao on a dribble, or he would go and send a guy off. He has fun with it, and it's great to see because he's a natural with the ball. He's Portuguese, but he plays like a Brazilian. I know some people like the ties because they both speak the same language, but I mean, two completely different cultures, in
Yeah.
my opinion, and styles of players. And he's a Brazilian, in that's Portuguese, just a treat to watch play. I was ended up being wrong, but I was right because I said that Spurs would win, but I said Spurs would win because I was calling Stefano Pioli a bozo because I was telling him not to play Rafael Leao to start. So I thought he was going to have him on the bench, and then Milan was going to come out there flat and ugly, which they kind of were. But you guys have not seen Milan the way we've seen Milan. Well, you've seen them in if you've been watching the Serie A and the Coppa Italia. This team has been atrocious, especially to start. And a big reason why is because they don't have their best player on the field. So, so yeah, dude, it's just I'm happy to see him start and Milan get the win. It will be completely different game back for the second leg though, because in my opinion, I mean, Omar, you saw the game more in depth than me. Did you see anything at all that tells you that Milan can put up a fight back in England?
Yes, definitely. It's gonna spell down to not even like what Leao does, what whatever player does. It's if Milan could keep their midfield together. Their midfield had a really bad game, and Tottenham actually had controlled the midfield for most of the game, especially with Oliver Skip having a beautiful game. There's a lot of question marks. What we talked about before the game with injuries. They had lost Bentancur, the Uruguayan. They had some injuries. How is Sar and Skip gonna do in that midfield against a pretty talented Milan midfield with Tonali, Krunic, Salamakers, and Theo Hernandez playing a little more like a wing back, but they were still a part of that midfield. And they kind of handled that pressure pretty well, to be honest. But what was really the driving force for this Milan team was Kier. That dude had a masterclass. Every time Harry Kane had the ball, he was either chopping him down, fouling him, making sure he felt his presence throughout the game, and they really felt it. Him and Kalulu were perfect in the back. Tatarusanu, the keeper from Milan, beautiful game, made saves left and right, rock solid. And if Milan can do the same thing, play that beautiful Italian football, they can probably go to England and pull off the leg and move on to the quarterfinal. But for Tottenham, it's definitely going to depend if the attack can just kind of come alive again. Because Kane finished the game with a 3.6, Kulusevski with a 3.0. Richarlison had a. I think Richarlison needs to come on earlier, or maybe even start over Kulusevski. I don't know how you can work that out. Kulusevski's more of a winger, but Richarlison had a pretty good, solid chances throughout the game. So I don't know how they're gonna do it. It's just a lot to be desired still from Tottenham.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just hard to know what to expect from Spurs because, bro, we watched them one week and we're like, damn, they scored a goal, they defended really well, they win versus Manchester City, and then you see them just like this, and it's just like it leaves you so confused as to what to expect next. I mean, I am a bit of a Premier League elitist, so I want to say that Spurs in England is a completely different game, and Milan is gonna come out and you know, in a way, either Spurs tie it to win it in extra time or penalties, or Spurs win it outright. But they're too inconsistent. They're too inconsistent. Like you said, Harry Kane was really bad. For Richarlison, I think it gets complicated because the only way you could play, I guess, Harry Kane and Richarlison would be to play two strikers up front, but then you can't run Son or Kulusevski on. Well, you could run them on a 4-4-2, but
Or
then
maybe play a
Star
little
and
more.
Skip, and then your other because then because if you're playing with three in the back, it kind of messes it all up if you put two strikers up front.
Yeah,
Because
maybe they maybe they figured out maybe have like play Sun as a 10 behind Charleston and Kane, and then just swap in a midfielder for Kulusevski. So they have three in the middle with Sun kind of playing just above them, and then they have that four in the back.
yeah, we'll see. So far, Milan has the clear upper hand, and both of these teams are kind of allergic to scoring in a way. For Spurs, when they win, they kind of win ugly. They did win 3-0, but they won versus Preston and the FA Cup, and then they ended up being Fulham. And on Saturday they ended up losing 4-1 in Leicester City. So they're in bad form. We recorded this before that Saturday game, and we had some hope for Spurs, but they're kind of that team that when they let you down, then they start doing good, and you're like, man, maybe I was too hard on them. And just when you believe in them and you get your hopes the highest, they just let you down in the most heartbreaking way possible, and they lose all your money. So yeah, for my bets ended up being PSG to win and Spurs to win. I ended up parlaying that. It had really nice odds. It ended up hitting in reverse. So
Yeah, and
if
then
you
mine
trade my
was
picks, you'll make money.
yeah. My picks were a Tottenham Milan draw. I thought maybe it was gonna end 0-0, and probably without that like mistake from the defense and the double save needed by Forster, it could have ended 0-0 easily.
Yeah.
And then I had Bayern money line parlayed those together. Only the draw from Tottenham, but shit happens in betting, and just kind of move on to the next one.
Yeah. So that's pretty much our recap for that one. Omar, anything else we missed or that we didn't cover for this game, you think?
I think we covered everything. Oh, one more thing. Cuti Romero, Christian Romero, Tottenham defender, Argentinian, should have probably been sent off in this game before halftime. He had a pretty disgusting cleat to like shin tackle, and it was clear, didn't touch the ball, just cleat the shin. Should have probably been sent off. I think he just got given a yellow card. And Eric Dyer is suspended with too many yellow cards in the next leg. So there'll be a defender down.
Oh shit! All right, so some interesting facts going into the next game. Tomorrow we'll be having some other exciting matchups, so stay tuned for that. We already did the preview for the matches tomorrow: Borussia Dortmund versus Chelsea and Club Brugge versus Benfica. Make sure you check out the last Top Corner podcast for that. So you guys see the ads right there in the bottom left corner. Make sure you follow us on TikTok at Top Corner Pod. Follow us on Twitter at Top Corner Pod, and subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the video, man. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out.
See you, boys.